The phone buzzed against my desk for the third time today, my mother's name flashing across the screen like a warning signal. I let it ring, focusing instead on the spreadsheet before me. Another late night at the office while my genius brother was probably being treated to dinner somewhere expensive. My name is Gwendolyn, and I've spent 30 years being the family's backup plan. Gwenny, you need to answer eventually, Sylvia called from her cubicle. Your mum's been texting me too. I sighed, picking up my phone. Watch this. She's either going to complain about Corbyn's girlfriend or ask for money. Gwendolyn! Mother's voice crackled through the speaker. Finally! We've been trying to reach you all day. Your father needs to discuss something urgent with you. I'm working, Mom. Some of us actually have to do that. Don't take that tone with me. This is about the business. We're having dinner at La Maison tonight at 7. Don't be late. Before I could protest, she hung up. Sylvia appeared at my desk with 2 cups of coffee, sliding one toward me. Family dinner? On a Wednesday? Something's wrong, I said, taking a sip. Dad's business must be worse than they're letting on. Last month they needed my help with the mortgage payment because they bought Corbyn that ridiculous boat. The one he crashed? That's the one. But hey, boys will be boys, right? I mimicked my mother's dismissive wave. If I had crashed a boat, they'd have made me work 3 jobs to pay it off. Why do you still help them? I stared at the family photo on my desk. Mom, Dad, and Corbyn beaming at the camera while I stood slightly apart, my smile forced. Because they're family. What choice do I have? At 7 sharp, I walked into La Maison. They'd already taken the best table, of course. Dad stood to hug me, his designer suit hanging looser than usual. Mom barely looked up from her wine glass, and Corbyn was, predictably, absent. Where's the golden child? I asked, settling into my chair. Your brother is meeting potential investors in Vegas, Dad replied, pride evident in his voice. He's doing important work for the company. Right. Because Vegas is where all the serious business happens. Mum's eyes narrowed. He's networking. Something you could learn to do better, dear. The waiter arrived and Dad ordered the most expensive wine on the menu. My stomach tightened. They only did this when they wanted something big. Sweetheart, Dad began, leaning forward. The business is at a crucial turning point. We have a chance to land Platinum Holdings as a client. They could save everything. I picked at my salad. And we need to make the right impression. These people expect a certain image. We need to show them we're successful, established. What your father is trying to say, Mom interjected, is that we need to upgrade our company car. The Mercedes S-Class would be perfect. The Platinum package, of course. I put down my fork. And you're telling me this because we know you've been saving, Dad said softly. You've always been our responsible one. The business needs this, Gwendolyn. The family needs this. The family needs this. The same words they'd used when they needed my college fund to bail out Corbyn's failed startup, when they needed my first year's salary to renovate their house, when they needed my bonus to pay for their anniversary cruise. How much? Just your savings, Mom said, as if it was nothing. All of it. The room seemed to spin. 5 years of careful saving, of brown bag lunches and missed vacations. My dream of starting my own business reduced to a desperate grab at impressing some clients who probably wouldn't even notice what car picked them up from the airport. And what about Corbyn? What's he contributing? Mom's face hardened. Your brother is doing his part. He's out there making connections. In Vegas, I interrupted. On the company dime, I'm sure. This attitude isn't helpful, Dad snapped. We need an answer by Friday. The family's future depends on this, Gwendolyn. Don't let us down. I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. I'll think about it. As I walked to my car, my phone buzzed again. A text from Sylvia. How bad was it? I typed back. They want everything I've saved, every penny. Her response was immediate. Time to cut the cord? I sat in my car staring at the restaurant where my parents were probably already dismissing my reaction as selfish and ungrateful. My hands shook as I replied, maybe it is. I spent the next 2 days dodging calls and making excuses, but by Friday afternoon, I couldn't avoid the inevitable. The family meeting was set for our old house, the one with the mortgage I helped pay. Sylvia dropped me off, squeezing my hand. Remember what we talked about? Your money, your choice. The moment I walked in, I knew this would be bad. Mom, Dad, and, surprisingly, Corbin sat in the living room like a tribunal. The Mercedes brochure lay on the coffee table like evidence in a trial. "Welcome home, sis," Corbin said, flashing that smile that had gotten him out of trouble since kindergarten. "How's the corporate grind? Better than Vegas, apparently." Now, Mom intervened. "We're here to discuss the business opportunity. Corbin's been working hard to set up this meeting with Platinum Holdings." Dad picked up the brochure. "The dealer's holding the car for us. Black exterior, cream leather interior. It's perfect for client meetings." "And how exactly will a luxury car save the business?" I asked, remaining standing. "Have you looked at the company's financials lately?" "That's not your concern," Mom snapped. "We need to project success to be successful." "Actually, it is my concern if you want my money." I pulled out my phone, opening the photos I'd asked Sylvia to help me gather. "Your company lost 40% of its value last year. You're behind on vendor payments. 3 executives quit last month." Corbin shifted uncomfortably. "Been doing your homework, huh? Someone has to. The business isn't failing because of your car, Dad. It's failing because we haven't adapted," Dad interrupted, standing up. "These clients expect luxury, sophistication. If we land this account, if, I felt years of frustration bubbling up. "That's all I ever hear. If Corbin's startup takes off, if the boat helps with networking, if the country club membership brings in clients, and every time, who has to clean up the mess?" "That's not fair," Corbin protested. "I'm working my arse off. In Vegas? On the company credit card? How much did you lose at the blackjack table this time?" Mom gasped. "How dare you?" "I saw the statements, Mom. I saw everything, and I'm done." Dad stepped forward, his face red. "Done? We're your family. You have an obligation." "No," I said quietly. "My obligation was to be your backup plan, your safety net, your ATM. Not anymore." "So you'll let the business fail?" Mom's voice cracked. "Let everything your father built collapse? The business is already failing. A Mercedes won't change that." Corbin stood up, trying to play peacemaker. "Come on, Gwen. We're talking about family here. Remember when Dad helped you with your first apartment? You mean when he gave me a loan with interest while paying your entire down payment? That was different. Everything's always different with you, Corbin. But not anymore." I turned to my parents. "I'm not giving you my savings." The silence that followed was deafening. Mom's face crumpled, Dad's turned to stone, and Corbin just looked confused, like he couldn't process someone saying no to them. "Then you're no daughter of mine," Mom whispered. I felt the words like a physical blow, but straightened my spine. "Funny. I've been your daughter every time you needed money, every time you needed someone to blame, every time you needed to make Corbin look better by comparison. But the one time I choose myself—" "Get out," Dad said, his voice trembling. "If you won't help this family, you're not welcome here." I walked to the door, then turned back one last time. "You know what the saddest part is? You've never once asked what I wanted to do with my savings, what my dreams were. You just assumed they belonged to you." "Gwen, wait," Corbin called, but I was already out the door. Sylvia was waiting in her car, one look at my face telling her everything. "That bad?" "They disowned me," I laughed, a hollow sound. "Apparently I'm not their daughter anymore because I won't buy them a Mercedes." She pulled me into a hug. "You know what this means, right?" "What?" "You're finally free." She pulled back, grinning. "And I happen to know about this interesting investment opportunity. Ever heard of sustainable fashion?" For the first time in days, I felt something like hope flutter in my chest. "Tell me more." As we drove away from my childhood home, I watched it shrink in the side mirror until it disappeared completely. Just like that, 30 years of being the family backup plan vanished into the rearview mirror. And ahead, nothing but open road. EcoThread? I stared at the presentation on Sylvia's laptop screen. We were sitting in her tiny apartment, takeout containers scattered around us. You want me to invest my life savings in a startup that makes clothes from recycled plastic. Not just clothes, Sylvia clicked to the next slide. High-end, sustainable fashion that's actually affordable. And look who's advising them. The name Ishmael Delgado flashed across the screen. Even I knew who he was. The man had turned 3 failing companies into billion-dollar success stories. They're having an investor meeting tomorrow, Sylvia said, trying to contain her excitement. I can get you in. I don't know anything about fashion or sustainability, but you know business. And numbers. And you've got something to prove. My phone buzzed. Another text from Corbin. Mum's crying. Just give them what they want, please. I turned my phone face down. Set up the meeting. The next morning, I found myself in a converted warehouse space that served as EcoThread's office. Recycled furniture, plants everywhere, and the walls were covered with designs that looked nothing like what I'd expect from recycled materials. You must be Gwendolyn, a voice called out. A man in his 30s approached, wearing what looked like a perfectly normal suit. I'm Ishmael. Sylvia's told me about you. All good things, I hope, he smiled. She said you're looking for an investment that matters. Follow me. As we walked through the workspace, I saw people actually working, not pretending to work like at my parents' company. A woman named Riley, the operations manager, joined us, carrying samples of fabric. Feel this. She handed me what looked like silk, made entirely from recycled plastic bottles. And this? She passed me another swatch. Recycled fishing nets. We're not just making clothes, we're cleaning up the oceans. The fashion industry is one of the world's biggest polluters, Ishmael explained. Fast fashion, waste, child labour. We're trying to change all that, but we need smart investors who see the bigger picture. And what exactly is the bigger picture? I asked. Riley spread out their business plan. We've got the technology, the designs, the manufacturing partnerships. What we need is someone who understands both the numbers and the vision. Someone who's not afraid to challenge the status quo. I thought about my father's company, about all the times I'd tried to suggest modernizing only to be shut down, about the Mercedes they thought would save them. Walk me through your financials, I said. For the next 2 hours, we dove deep into their books. Unlike my family's business, everything was transparent, organized. They had realistic projections, contingency plans, and most importantly, actual orders already lined up. We're not promising overnight millions, Ishmael said as we wrapped up. This is about building something sustainable, in every sense of the word. And if it fails? Riley laughed. Then we fail trying to make the world better, not trying to impress people with fancy cars. That hit home harder than they could know. I need 24 hours to think about it, I said. Back at my apartment, I spread everything out on my kitchen table. EcoThread's business plan, my savings statements, and the last text from my mother. You're making a huge mistake. My phone rang. Sylvia. So? She asked. What did you think? It's risky, I said. Really risky. More risky than giving your savings to your parents. I looked at the EcoThread samples I'd brought home. You know what the weird thing is? For the first time in my life, I'm actually excited about something. Not scared, not obligated, excited. That's called following your own path, Sylvia said. How does it feel? Terrifying. Exhilarating. I picked up the fabric sample made from fishing nets. They're actually trying to do something good, Sylvia. Not just talk about it, not just pretend, actually do it. Unlike some people we know. I thought about my father's company, built on appearances and empty promises. About Corbin's networking that never led anywhere. About all the money wasted trying to look successful instead of actually building something meaningful. I'm going to do it, I said, the words feeling right as soon as they left my mouth. I'm going to invest in EcoThread. You sure? I looked at my phone, at all the missed calls and guilt-tripping messages from my family. Then I looked at the EcoThread business plan, at all the possibilities it represented. For once in my life, I said, I'm absolutely sure. I could hear Sylvia's smile through the phone. Then let's call Ishmael first thing tomorrow. It's time to thread a new path. That was terrible. I groaned at her pun, but I was smiling too. For the first time since the family dinner, I slept soundly, dreaming not of Mercedes and disappointed parents, but of oceans without plastic and clothes that told stories of change. The day I signed the investment papers with EcoThread, my father showed up at my office. I watched through the glass walls as he argued with reception, his face getting redder by the minute. "Your father's here," Sylvia said unnecessarily. "Want me to call security?" Before I could answer, he spotted me and stormed over. "What the hell is this?" He slammed a paper on my desk, a copy of my investment contract that Corbyn must have dug up. "That's private business information," I said, keeping my voice steady. "How did you get this?" "Private? You're throwing away your future on recycled garbage while your family's business crumbles?" He lowered his voice, aware of the stares from my co-workers. "The Mercedes dealer called. They sold the car we were holding. Do you understand what you've done?" "Created an opportunity for you to take the bus to client meetings." His face darkened. "You think this is funny? Your mother hasn't slept in days. Corbyn's working overtime trying to salvage the Platinum Holdings deal. From the casino floor?" "Stop it!" He slammed his hand on my desk. "You're just like your Aunt Catherine, always thinking you know better than everyone else." That made me pause. Aunt Catherine, Mom's sister who'd been ostracised for refusing to fund yet another of their schemes. The aunt who'd gone on to build her own successful business before cutting all ties with the family. "Maybe Aunt Catherine had the right idea," I said, standing up. "Now, unless you're here to discuss EcoThread's potential as an investment opportunity, I have work to do." "You'll regret this," he said, his voice breaking slightly. "When our business fails, when your brother's career is ruined." My brother ruined his own career by treating the company like his personal piggy bank, and you let him. He stepped back as if I'd slapped him. "Your mother was right. We don't know you anymore." "No, Dad. You never knew me at all." After he left, Sylvia brought me coffee and a hug. "You okay?" "Actually, yes." I checked my phone. 3 missed calls from Mom, 5 texts from Corbyn. "I need to go to EcoThread. We have our first major planning meeting today." The warehouse looked different now that I was officially part of the team. Riley met me at the door, practically bouncing with energy. Perfect timing. Our first major crisis just landed. "Crisis?" She led me to the conference room where Ishmael was pacing. "Our main fabric supplier just doubled their prices. Something about supply chain issues." "Which means our entire cost structure just imploded," Ishmael added. I dropped into a chair, pulling out my laptop. "Show me the numbers." For the next 3 hours, we dug through spreadsheets, called alternative suppliers, and restructured our production timeline. It was exactly the kind of problem-solving I'd always wanted to do at my father's company, but was never allowed to. "What if we start smaller?" I suggested, pointing to our launch plan. "Instead of a full collection, we focus on our 3 best designs. Build buzz, prove the concept, then scale up when we have more leverage with suppliers." Riley's eyes lit up. "That could work. We could do a limited edition launch, make it exclusive." "Turn the limitation into an advantage," Ishmael nodded. "Gwendolyn, I think you just saved our first quarter." My phone buzzed again. "Corbyn. Dad's talking about bankruptcy. This is on you." Riley noticed my expression. "Family stuff?" "They think I abandoned them." I put the phone away. "Maybe I did." "No," Ishmael said firmly. "You chose to build something instead of enabling destruction. There's a difference." "Speaking of building," Riley pulled up a design on her tablet. "What do you think about this for our launch piece?" It was a blazer, sleek and professional, but with subtle, innovative details. The kind of thing I'd always wanted to wear to work, but could never afford. "It's perfect," I said. "What's it made from?" "Recycled plastic bottles from the Pacific Ocean," she grinned. "We're calling it the Phoenix Blazer. You know, rising from the ashes?" I thought about my savings, transformed from a family bailout into something meaningful, about my own phoenix-like transformation from family ATM to actual businesswoman. "The Phoenix Blazer," I repeated. "I love it." Later that night, as I left the warehouse, I got one more text from Aunt Catherine. "Heard you finally broke free. Proud of you, kiddo. Let's have coffee soon, I smiled, typing back. I'd like that. Have you heard of sustainable fashion? The city lights twinkled around me as I walked to my car, no longer feeling the weight of family expectations on my shoulders. Instead, I felt something new, possibility. And it fit better than any Mercedes ever could. 3 months into the EcoThread venture, I was running on coffee and determination. The Phoenix Blazer launch was a week away, and everything that could go wrong was going wrong. The influencer just cancelled. Riley burst into our makeshift office, waving her phone. Something about a better offer from a fast fashion brand. Of course she did, I muttered, scanning through our backup plans. What about that environmental activist Ishmael mentioned? The one with the TED Talk. Already reached out. She's perfect, actually, has a huge following and actually cares about sustainability. My phone lit up with a text from Aunt Catherine. Turn on Channel 7 News, now. Riley and I huddled around my laptop streaming the local news. My stomach dropped as I saw my father's company logo. We're filing for bankruptcy after 40 years in business, the reporter was saying. Sources say the company's attempts to secure new clients failed after several questionable financial decisions. The camera cut to Corbin leaving the building, looking dishevelled. No comment, he snapped, pushing past reporters. Your family? Riley asked softly. Before I could answer, Ishmael rushed in. Emergency meeting now. In the conference room, he pulled up an email on the projector. Our main competitor just announced a sustainable line launching the same day as ours. They're using greenwashing tactics, making vague claims about being eco-friendly without any actual commitment. They're trying to steal our thunder, Riley groaned. No, I said, an idea forming. They're giving us an opportunity. They both looked at me. We have something they don't. Actual transparency. Real sustainability. What if we launch a social media campaign showing exactly how our clothes are made? Every bottle collected, every worker paid fairly, every step of the process? Reality versus pretense. Ishmael nodded slowly. I like it. We could do live streams from the production floor, Riley added, catching the excitement. Show the actual impact we're making. My phone buzzed again. Corbin calling. I declined the call. You should take it, Riley said. Family's important. So is this, I gestured to our plans. They made their choices. I'm making mine. We worked late into the night, rebuilding our launch strategy. Around midnight, Riley brought in pizza. Your brother's all over social media, she said, showing me her phone. Apparently he's blaming the bankruptcy on disloyal family members undermining the business. I laughed bitterly. Funny how he's not mentioning the gambling debts or the embezzlement. You never told us the whole story. Because it doesn't matter anymore. This, I pointed to our work, this is what matters. The next week passed in a blur of preparation. The environmental activist loved our transparency campaign idea and brought several of her influential friends on board. Our social media was buzzing with anticipation. Then, the night before the launch, my mother showed up at the warehouse. Ms. Montgomery, our security guard called. Your mother's here. I found her in the lobby, looking smaller than I remembered. Her designer clothes seemed worn, her jewelry missing. What are you doing here, Mom? I came to talk sense into you. She looked around the warehouse with disdain. Your father's in the hospital. Stress, the doctors say. Your brother's reputation is ruined. And you're here, playing with recycled bottles. We're launching tomorrow, I said. A real business with real products and real ethics, not smoke and mirrors. Ethics won't pay our bills. She stepped closer. We're losing everything, Gwendolyn. Everything your father built. Everything he gambled away, I corrected. Everything he and Corbin wasted trying to look successful instead of being successful. And this is success? She gestured around. This warehouse? These cheap clothes? Riley appeared behind me. Actually, these cheap clothes just got featured in Vogue's sustainability issue. And we're projecting to break even 3 months ahead of schedule. Mom's face flickered with something. Surprise? Respect? Before hardening again. So you'll let your family suffer while you succeed? You're suffering because of your own choices, I said quietly, just like I'm succeeding because of mine. Gwendolyn, Riley called, the final production samples are ready for approval. I turned to my mother. You can stay and see what we've built, or you can leave. Your choice. She straightened her shoulders, clutching her worn designer bag. Your father was right. You are just like Catherine. Thank you, I said, meaning it. After she left, Riley squeezed my shoulder. You okay? I looked at the Phoenix blazer sample hanging nearby, its fabric gleaming under the lights. Beauty created from waste, strength born from destruction. Better than okay, I said. I'm ready for tomorrow. And I was. Finally. Truly ready. Refresh the page again. Riley practically bounced off her chair as we huddled around my laptop. I've refreshed it 4 times in the last minute, I laughed, but clicked anyway. The numbers on our launch dashboard jumped again. Holy shit, Ishmael breathed. We just sold out. In 3 hours. The warehouse erupted in cheers. Our transparency campaign had gone viral, with the environmental activists' video about our production process hitting 2 million views overnight. The Phoenix blazer had become a symbol of real sustainability in an industry full of empty promises. Check this out, Sylvia called from her phone. Your competitors getting roasted on Twitter for their fake eco-friendly claims. People are cancelling orders and demanding refunds. My phone buzzed. Aunt Catherine. Just ordered 3 blazers. About time someone showed them how it's done. Coffee tomorrow? We need to scale up production, Riley was already planning. But sustainably. We can't compromise our values just because we're successful. Speaking of success, Ishmael turned on the TV mounted on the wall. Look who's making headlines again. It was Corbyn, looking considerably less polished than his usual self, standing outside what used to be our father's company building. Allegations of financial misconduct continue to surface, the reporter was saying. Sources claim significant funds were misappropriated through gambling and unauthorized personal expenses. Turn it off, I said. We have work to do. The next morning I met Aunt Catherine at her favourite cafe. She wore one of our blazers looking exactly like the successful businesswoman I'd always admired. Not bad, she said, running her hand along the sleeve. Actually, it's incredible. Who would have thought plastic bottles could look this good? You should see what we're planning next. I pulled out my tablet to show her our upcoming designs. I'm not here to talk business. She set her coffee down. Your mother called me. My stomach tightened. Of course she did. They're selling the house, Catherine said. Your father's medical bills are piling up, and Corbyn's legal troubles aren't helping. Legal troubles? The DA's office is investigating the company's finances. Apparently your brother got creative with the books. I thought about all the times I'd warned them about Corbyn's spending, about the need for proper accounting, all the times they'd dismissed me. Why are you telling me this? Catherine smiled. Because 6 years ago, I was you, watching the family implode while my own business took off. It's a special kind of vindication, isn't it? Before I could respond, my phone lit up with a message from Riley. Vogue wants to do a feature story. Get back here now. The next few hours were a whirlwind of excitement. The magazine wanted to do a spread on sustainable fashion pioneers, with EcoThread as the centerpiece. They loved our transparency, our mission, our success story. They want to interview you specifically, Riley said, reading the email. About leaving a family business to start something meaningful. No, I said firmly. This isn't about my family drama. It's about what we're building here. Actually, Ishmael joined us. It's about both. Your story resonates because it's real. Walking away from security to build something sustainable. That's exactly what we're asking consumers to do. My phone buzzed again. Corbyn. They're pressing charges. Mum's asking for you, please. Riley saw my face. Everything okay? My brother's facing criminal charges, I said, for things I knew were happening but never reported. That's not on you, Ishmael said firmly. You tried to change things from within. When that failed, you built something better. And look what we built. Riley gestured around the warehouse, now humming with activity. Workers sorting recycled materials, designers collaborating on new pieces, social media teams sharing our story with the world. My phone lit up with another message. From a number I didn't recognize. This is Riley Hart from Platinum Holdings. Heard great things about EcoThread. Interested in discussing a partnership? I showed the message to Riley and Ishmael, who both burst out laughing. The same Platinum Holdings your family's business was desperate to impress? Riley asked. The very same, I smiled. Funny how things work out. So, Ishmael said, about that Vogue interview? I looked around at what we'd created, not just clothes, but a movement. A real business built on real values, not appearances and empty promises. Okay, I said, but we tell the whole story, about sustainability, about fast fashion, about choosing what's right over what's easy. About rising from the ashes, Riley grinned. Like a phoenix, I agreed, touching the blazer I wore, the very first one off our production line. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about getting better. The Vogue article hit newsstands on the same day as Corbyn's arraignment. I sat in my office at EcoThread, now a proper office with actual walls, staring at both headlines on my tablet. Sustainable success. How EcoThread is revolutionizing fashion. Local business heir faces fraud charges. Sylvia burst in without knocking. Your mother's here, and she's wearing one of our blazers. What? Sure enough, Mom stood in our reception area, wearing a phoenix blazer and looking more uncertain than I'd ever seen her. Should we call security? Riley whispered, appearing beside me. No, I sighed. I'll handle this. Mom's eyes darted around our office space, taking in the awards on the walls, the busy employees, the tangible success. This is impressive. What do you want, Mom? Your brother's court date is today. I know. He's facing real jail time, Gwendolyn. Her voice cracked. Your father's doctors say his heart can't take much more stress. We're losing everything. I know that too. She smoothed down the blazer, a nervous habit I'd inherited. The irony isn't lost on me. Wearing this, coming here to beg, but we need help. Financial help? Legal help? Character witnesses? Anything. She pulled out a newspaper. You're respected now. People listen to you. If you could just tell them Corbyn made mistakes, but he's a good person. Is he? I asked quietly. Is he really? He's your brother. My brother who helped bankrupt our family business, who gambled away client money, who blamed everyone else for his choices. I gestured to her blazer. Do you know what this represents? Transparency, accountability, everything our family business wasn't. We made mistakes, she admitted. Your father and I, we enabled him. We know that now. Riley knocked and entered with perfect timing. Sorry to interrupt, but the Platinum Holdings team is here for the partnership meeting. Mom's eyes widened. Platinum Holdings? The same company we... Yes, I cut her off. The same company you wanted to impress with a Mercedes. Turns out they care more about actual business practices than fancy cars. Gwendolyn, please, we're desperate. The word hung between us. Desperate. Like I'd been desperate for their approval all those years, desperate to be seen as more than a backup plan. I'll tell you what I'm going to do, I said finally. I'll write a letter to the judge, telling the complete truth. About the gambling, the cover-ups, the family dynamics that led to this. Complete transparency, just like we practice here. That will destroy him. No, Mom, he destroyed himself, and maybe facing the consequences will help him rebuild, actually rebuild, not just pretend everything's fine. She sank into a chair, the blazer wrinkling slightly. When did you become so hard? Not hard. Clear. There's a difference. My phone buzzed. Aunt Catherine. Heard about Corbyn. You okay? Riley poked her head in again. They're waiting. Go, Mum said, standing up. Go to your important meeting. We'll figure something out. Mum, I called as she reached the door. The blazer looks good on you. It's made from recycled materials, things that were thrown away but found new purpose. She touched the sleeve, understanding flickering across her face. Maybe. Maybe we could talk sometime about how you built all this. I'd like that. I surprised myself by meaning it. But first, you and Dad need to let Corbin face the consequences of his actions. Real change starts with accountability. After she left, Riley and Ishmael joined me. Ready to meet with Platinum Holdings? Ishmael asked. Actually, I smiled. I've never been more ready for anything in my life. We walked into the conference room where the Platinum Holdings team waited. Their CEO wore one of our blazers. Sorry for the delay, I said. Family business. We know all about that, she smiled. We've been following your story. It's exactly why we're here. You've built something real, something transparent. That's rare in this industry. As we began our presentation, I caught a glimpse of my reflection in the window, wearing the blazer I'd helped design, leading a company I'd helped build, finally standing completely on my own terms. My phone buzzed one last time. A news alert about Corbin's court appearance. I turned it face down. Some people might call it revenge, watching my family face the consequences of their actions while I succeeded. But sitting there, discussing sustainable business practices with people who actually cared about making a difference, it felt more like justice. And justice, like the perfect blazer, never goes out of style. The courthouse steps were crowded with reporters as I made my way inside. Sylvia squeezed my hand before peeling off to find a seat in the gallery. This wasn't where I'd expected to be on the morning of EcoThread's biggest product launch, but some things couldn't wait. The court calls character witness Gwendolyn Montgomery. I walked to the witness stand, catching sight of my family in the front row. Mum in our blazer, Dad looking frail but alert, and Corbin, dressed in a suit that couldn't hide his fear. Please state your relationship to the defendant, the prosecutor said. He's my brother. And you worked at your father's company. I tried to, I said. I repeatedly raised concerns about financial irregularities and spending patterns. Objection, Corbin's lawyer stood. Relevance. Overruled. Continue. I took a deep breath. I watched my brother gamble away client funds while my parents enabled him. I watched him blame everyone else for his choices. And when I refused to bail out the company one last time, they called me disloyal. And yet you're here today, the prosecutor noted. Why? Because my brother needs to hear the truth, not from prosecutors or judges, but from family. I turned to face Corbin directly. You're not a bad person, but you made bad choices, and running from consequences only made things worse. Corbin's face crumpled slightly. For the first time, he looked like my actual brother, not the golden child our parents had created. What would you recommend to the court regarding sentencing? That my brother needs both punishment and rehabilitation. He needs to make restitution to the people he hurt, but he also needs help breaking destructive patterns. You can't fix what you won't acknowledge. After I stepped down, my phone lit up with messages from Riley. Launch numbers are insane. Where are you? On my way, I typed back. Had to handle some family business. As I gathered my things, Corbin approached, escorted by his lawyer. That was honest, he said. Finally, right? I'm scared, Gwen. Good, I said, but gently. Fear means you're finally paying attention. The DA offered a plea deal, his lawyer interjected. Restitution payments, 18 months in minimum security, mandatory counselling. Take it, I said. Take it and use the time to figure out who you are without Mum and Dad's protection. Mum and Dad approached cautiously. Dad looked at me like he was seeing me for the first time. You did well in there, he said. Not what we wanted to hear, but what we needed to hear. I learned that at EcoThread, I said. Transparency isn't always comfortable, but it's necessary. Mom touched her blazer again. I've been reading about your company, about how you're actually cleaning up oceans, providing fair wages. I'm proud of you, Gwendolyn. I should have said that sooner. Much sooner, I agreed. But it's a start. My phone buzzed again, Riley sending a photo of crowds lined up outside our flagship store. The launch couldn't wait any longer. I have to go, I said. We're launching our new collection today. The one in Vogue, Mom asked, surprising me. I bought a subscription. Would you like to come? The words left my mouth before I could stop them. All of you? See what real business looks like? Dad shook his head. I need to stay with your brother. But maybe another time. Another time, I agreed. Outside the courthouse, Sylvia waited with our car. Ready for your actual job, boss? Almost. I turned back to my family. Corbin, take the plea deal. Mom, Dad, let him face this on his own. It's the only way he'll learn. Like you did? Dad asked. Exactly like I did. At EcoThread's flagship store, Riley met us at the back entrance, practically vibrating with excitement. You're just in time. We're about to open the doors. I looked through the windows at the crowd outside, at the sustainable fashion empire we'd built from recycled materials and renewed purpose. Then I checked my phone one last time. A text from Corbin. Taking the deal. Thanks for telling the truth. You okay? Sylvia asked. Better than okay, I said, straightening my blazer. Let's show them what real success looks like. Riley opened the doors and the crowd surged forward, eager to be part of something authentic, something meaningful. Just like I'd been that day, I chose to invest in EcoThread instead of a Mercedes. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even or proving people wrong. Sometimes it's about proving yourself right. About building something so real, so transparent, that it makes all the lies and pretense fade away. And sometimes, if you're lucky, it helps others find their truth too. Ready? Riley asked as reporters raised their cameras. I smiled, stepping forward into the light. Ready.